Welcome back to Les Schwab Tire Center's Outdoor GPS. It's time for Owin's Field Report, sponsored by Les Schwab Tire Centers.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us here. This upcoming segment, we're going to have Chris Bertopoulos here talking about winter steelhead, how he likes to go after them. So make sure you stick with us here on KPDX for that here in just a little bit. My field report, again, and for those that love to send the messages of you need to be going fishing, and just hey, listen, I appreciate that, but I wait for a 107-day stretch every year for like 9 months. So yeah, I'm hunting ducks, and that's pretty much where I'm going to be unless things are perfect. And I may have missed one of those perfect opportunities this week because of how the rivers came around. We'll talk about that in a bit. Not yet, Ryan, don't show river levels yet. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. But when you're on the side of targeting ducks, it was a good week. Covered quite a bit of ground, west, east-ish, chasing birds. Still, same thing for you out there that do hunt ducks. Mallards are thin. And no matter where I've been this week, mallards are thin. I think between myself and one buddy, I think we killed 2 mallards this week. All the rest have been widgeon, gadwall, definitely quite a few gadwall that have moved around. Again, in both areas, again, west and east, gadwall have been, which I love. I love widgeon. I love them all. Although we did let some smileys go by a little bit. But at the very least, here's some photos from this week. I should have more photos, but backgrounds unfortunately got in there. So we won't talk about that right now, Mr. Fish. But here's one from, I believe this is Monday. It could be Tuesday. A couple of limits, all widgeon, a couple of gadwall in there, and I believe there may have been one mallard. There it is. Yeah, one mallard drake back there. And it's really kind of sad when you can count on one hand how many mallards you can talk to. And they are so receptive. Yesterday we had one mallard that literally broke his neck, it seemed like, from 150 yards out. Gave him the right call, just turned right. I mean, it's just so much different playing with mallards than it is blowing a whistle for a widgeon. Don't get me wrong, love them. But I'm ready to see some mallards show up, and there's just a closer up photo. Really, it's been good. So I'm not going to say anything other than that. I mean, really, for the beginning of the season, getting to this point, it's been one of the best starts for myself personally. It's been all limits except yesterday. Although yesterday was still a very much a success based on the situation that we were in and the situation where we ended up to put a few birds down. We didn't get a limit yesterday, but at the very least, it was still good. This was just a couple of days ago. All widgeon limit here. There is one hen in there, forgive me. I was just trying to hold out for drakes because there was just so many of them around. And you can kind of see Drago is still looking back into the little tiny hole, the little tiny hole that we're hunting in. That these widgeon were just piling into. And maybe you have a situation like that as well. If you've got an area, public land, private land, where there is, kind of small, with some grass out there, the widgeons have just been keying in on that. So maybe keep that in mind as well. I wish I could talk more about mallards, but I think I've seen like a dozen all week. So it's been a little bit tough on that note. When you're talking about river levels, though, let's take a look at that. We're going to go slow here. Let's not just go cycling through them. My home river, it dropped into a level where I just had my pump put on my sled. Had the prop taken off, put the pump on. I got enough water where I can go run around. Now, the fishing on the Clackamas is pretty much done. There is certainly some wild fish opportunities when you're talking about silvers in there, catch and release, of course. But a very good level. Drift boat, jet boat, whatever it is, you got enough water where you can play around. And, of course, you're certainly going to find some fresh fish around. I got the question a couple days ago, was it too early to think about winter steelhead locally? Absolutely it is. Now, the old days of Thanksgiving being that kickoff time frame, those are long gone. Not saying that you can't run across one, but you'd be targeting silvers primarily here. Okay, moving forward along the coast, this is where I had mentioned, yeah, this is the Wilson. I'm going to say this too. There's a lot more, and I only say this because I was asked to, and I'm going to be happy to do so. There's a lot of options up and down the coast. Okay, from the north coast to the mid coast and even further south than just this river. And within the zone of this river, there are 4 other options that are really good options, right? Because it got awfully crowded from what I understand. I wasn't there, but I was asked to say, hey, man, there are options that are out there, but you can see how things drop quickly. I mentioned if you watch the show on Sunday, I was like, yeah, things are going to get really good by Tuesday, Wednesday. Well, I was a little off. We had all that rain on Sunday that really bounced it up, and then it turned over super fast. It was not expected to get out of the 6s until later on this week, but you can see that's obviously changed. Moving forward, we'll go a little bit further south to Silet, same thing. Had a heck of a shot of fish in there. People were smiling from ear to ear, and we will have some photos from there to be showing the next week or two that have been coming in. But this is a good barometer for all the rivers all the way down to the Al Sea, where it has also dropped into a pretty interesting area, although the fishing has been hit or miss, from what I understand. Again, I have not been there. Nehalem, same. I will say the small tributary of the Nehalem has been struggling. The one with the hatchery on it, with the phone line, that one has been a little bit of a struggle right now, so kind of keep that in mind before winter steelhead start to show up. But at the very least, there you go. So the rivers are going to be stable. If they hold on to their forecasts, they're going to be stable, right? If you're a drift boater or jet boater, depending on tidewater or estuary fishing, whatever it is you're going to be doing, you're going to have water to play with. Now, I wish I could say the same thing, but with what I'm doing these days, I'm out of water. Now let's find out how much water we're going to have show up. Let's check in with Katie Saniga and find out what we can expect. I know that it's certainly going to be raining a little bit throughout today, but are things slowing down? Are we going to get back into a warmer, maybe a drier weather pattern, Katie?
I think so. I wanted to show you, you have been asking for 2 weeks of rain.
Yes.
We almost get it. So we'll have a little more today and a little more tomorrow. Whether we have measurable Monday or not, that's a question mark. So we almost make it 2 weeks with rain. I know the number's not showing up right now, but I'll let you know this is just a little more than 4 inches for the month so far. And then we do hit a dry pattern all the way the rest of the weekend into next weekend. We have a split system that sweeps underneath us, gives some precipitation to California, and then comes back and reconnects to our east. This is by 1 o'clock. You can see just a few showers down toward Eugene. Not much happening. Then we get into Sunday. And this is what I'm talking about, is we have this that comes in, showers on us, and then by 8 o'clock Monday morning, everything is cleared up. So obviously we have from midnight till about 8 a.m. maybe get some measurable rain. But at this point, we only have 1 day in November that has had no rain. Every other day has had at least 1/100 of an inch, some, as you know, quite a bit more. And then we hit a dry pattern. This is what we have left. All that we have in our extended forecast in the next 3 days is what you see here. So a little more this morning, a little more Saturday night, maybe into Monday morning. We're not looking at too much more than a 1/2 inch of rain over the next 3 days. And then, of course, your 7-day forecast also shows your temperatures, which we stay right on average. Tuesday, Wednesday, mainly dry, and then sunny and average. So going into next weekend.
Of the rain, you mentioned it, 4 inches already in November. I'm not sure what our average is for that entire month, but we got to be ahead of schedule, aren't we?
We're ahead of schedule for sure. 5.45 is the average for November. So we got, you know, a little ways to go, but we're not even halfway through the month yet. So.
No, that's perfect. Thanks, Katie. We appreciate it. We'll see you tomorrow morning. All right, we're going to cut to a quick break. When we come back, we're all lucky enough to have Chris Bertopoulos here in the studio. He's the owner-operator of Chris V's Guide Service. And we're going to talk winter steelhead. So pay attention. If you are a crazed steelheader like myself and Chris, this is a great opportunity to learn a little bit. We'll be back in just a minute.
Outdoor GPS is brought to you by P-Line, because we fish, by Hawken Fishing, perfection in fishing gear, and by Haxton's Canvas and Upholstery, the trusted name of the Pacific Northwest.